Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know about me, I am Charlotte, the trauma-informed teacher, and I give teachers tips for becoming better managers of their own self-care, how to better balance work life with home life, and some fun instructional tips that can help you enjoy your job when you are at school. So today I am on my planning time right now. I just got back from the store. I'll show you what I got. Nothing too terribly exciting, but I decided to pick up this organizer. It's just one of these little expandable files. I've tried different ways of organizing my grading, and this is just my latest attempt to kind of like refresh and reset what I'm doing, because I've been taking home stacks of papers like in a bag, and I was just finding that my bag would just sit there. And so I'm hoping that by buying this little inexpensive organizer, I can, number one, better keep my classes separated from each other, because it has the little pockets that I can designate for different class times. And then also just that being something new, that I would be, more willing to get it out and do some grading while I'm at home. So I've got that. I'm gonna put some papers in that in just a little bit. And then the other thing I picked up while I was there, well, I just got some more pens because can't have enough of those. But I picked up some of these smaller size posters. It was at the Family Dollar. They have these at the Dollar Tree also, and usually at the Dollar General. But I'm using these posters for a project that we are doing in my 8th grade class. I was going to give them the big poster boards, but I just decided that I wanted to limit the amount of time that we spend on this activity, and by giving them the smaller poster, that's going to cut my time in half that it takes for them to finish these, because we're almost to the end of the unit, and I don't want them to spend too much time, although I want them to enjoy the project. I don't want them to spend so much time hanging out doing artwork that we're not really working on content, since it is my 8th grade class, and that is a group that has an end of the grade test for the state, so we have to keep moving in our curriculum. So we're about done with this unit. It's the last topic. I'm having them jigsaw the activity. So right now we're studying the end of our hydrosphere unit, which is about oceans. I already taught about the global conveyor belt, and now the students are just learning about different ocean zones and what types of habitats are in each zone, which that's like our last standard for the unit. So that's one way if you want to do a project, but you want to keep it mini and you're doing a poster, give them the smaller poster boards, and that will move it along a little bit faster. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about ways that I incorporate fun into my classroom. I actually had a request from Laura Evans to do this video. She said, if you're one of those teachers who can always do something fun every day, then I salute you. Please let me know how you do it. But honestly, that's always been something that I have really strived hard to do in my classroom. And I've found that there are some ways that are easier than others to make sure that you are infusing fun into your daily lessons. So I'm just going to kind of run you through some of the things that I do, give you a couple of examples, and I will link a whole bunch of resources down below in the description that you can head to get ideas for your own classroom. So I hope this video is helpful to you today. I know that in the wintertime sometimes our lessons can get, dry. Coming to school every day is hard when it's dark in the mornings. So having something fun to look forward to, it's going to give you energy, and it's going to give your students energy, and hopefully just make your day go a whole lot better. So without ado, let's talk about 6 ways to inject fun daily into your lessons. Here we go. The first thing that I do to make sure that I have something fun in my week is play games for learning. This can be an online game. We have sites like Kahoot, Quizlet, Quizzes. There's also Blookit, Gimkit. There's any number of sites that are coming out all the time. If you want to keep up to date with the most current websites that you can use in your classroom, not just for games, but also for other technology integrations, keep up with Larry Ferlazzo. I'll link his site below. He does a website of the day update on his site, so it's a great place to go for ideas. And I'm sure there are others that you can follow. Maniacs in the Middle, she's great with making sure she keeps up with new technology, and I follow her because I'm a science teacher, and so is she. But you can use these sites no matter what subject you teach, and no matter what grade level you teach, you can find ways of using these sites that will work for you. But it doesn't have to be a technology site. You could do something simple like play the game Sparkle, which sometimes you can use it for spelling, but you can also use it for vocabulary words. And then the student, after they get finished spelling the word, the last person has to say what the word means. You can do concentration games with your vocabulary in your subject area. You can play in math, card games. There's all different ways that you can incorporate games into learning that's going to infuse fun automatically into your lessons and be something that you and your students can look forward to. Second way to inject fun daily into your lessons is find some songs that are just weird and catchy. I teach middle school, so elementary school is like a time when you expect to use songs in your instruction, but when students get into middle and high school, they're not too old for this. They might act like they're too old for it, especially our middle school students. They think that they're too grown sometimes, but actually true, if they're honest, they like it. It's kind of weird, and it's just like reading picture books to your kids. They're never too old for that, as long as it goes along with your topic and it supports the level that you're trying to teach at. Then by all means, go for it. Add in those picture books, add in those weird and funny songs. A couple of examples that I have used in my class that have been really effective in helping my students remember things is the cell song, which if you're a science teacher and you teach the parts of the cell, you know what I mean. It's a crazy rap and it's really weird. The kids are like, oh my gosh, every time you play it, but they remember the vocabulary after listening to that song over and over. And I usually like to make a challenge to the students, like, if you can rap this entire song by the end of the unit, then I will give you 20 of my classroom reward tickets. Maybe you want to have students come up with some sort of a dance. I've used Mr. Parr songs before online, Science with Mr. Parr, and I've had students do like different parts of the song where their group will come up with some sort of movement for that part of the song, and then we put it all together, and then we'll do a class like videotaping of the song. Some groups it works better than others with, but they have fun doing it and they do learn just by the process. Another song I've used that I really love for science is the Continental Drift song, Alfred Wegener's Theory of Continental Drift. So I'll put those below and some other ones that I've used in case you're looking for a funny one, but search whatever you're teaching. You can find so many different ones online, and it's just a way to have fun and goof off with your students whenever you have some free time at the beginning of class, at the end of class, when you have that break in the middle of activities. Always great to pull out a song. Third thing that you can do to infuse fun in your daily lessons is let the students talk. That's what they want to do. It doesn't matter what age they are. They want to talk. They want to be able to talk to their friends. They want to be able to talk to other people in the classroom. Give them something to talk about. Set a purpose for the talking. Set parameters and guidelines for how you want them to talk. The itty bitty book of common instructional tips, I'm going to link that below. It's so many different resources you can use for encouraging collaboration in your classroom. And collaboration, as we know, is a great way for students to learn. Sometimes they can learn it so much better from their peers than they can learn it from us because they explain it to each other in a way that they're going to understand. So I would encourage you to have times in your lessons every single day when the students are thinking and talking about things. with each other. Just give them guidelines. Another way that you can accomplish this is with online platforms like Padlet. I will put a video up in the cards. This teacher does a really good description of different ways that you can use Padlet, so I'm not going to redo her content. She did a fabulous job of covering it. She used it for high school, but it can be used for many different grades as long as students are old enough to type words in a short amount of time. Now, I wouldn't use it for like little kids that are just barely keyboarding, but if you have students like third grade and up, even some of our second graders, especially halfway into the year, can do some of these things just on a modified level where they type their ideas about a topic back and forth to each other, and they love being able to make online comments. Like, another way that you can do this is by having students work together on the same Google document, have them comment on each other's notes, comment on each other's work online, show them how to use that comment button. Those are ways that they can talk virtually. But of course, engage your students in regular daily collaboration, and they're going to enjoy your class so much more. The fourth way that you can infuse fun into your daily lessons is do experiments. Now, hear me out. Not everyone who's listening to me right now is a science teacher, and that's okay. I know that I do have quite a few science teacher followers, but you do not have to be a science teacher to make use of experiments. These can be experiments that your students do, or they can also be demos that you do that you call a student or two up. It could be something that you do one time a week. You can use this in so many different ways. You can use it to jumpstart a topic, something that you want students to pay attention to, and then later they're going to read a connected text. You might do something that sparks their imagination as an experiment and then have students write about it. So you can use this for reading, for writing. You can use it for so many different subject areas. But an experiment is always a way that students get involved and engaged. One place that you can get great ideas is the Steve Spangler Science online. He has a lot of great experiments that make students sit up and take note of what's going on, that make students wonder how it's happening. And many of them are with simple materials that don't cost a lot. Another place that you can get good ideas for cheap experiments is called Wellmers, and I'll link that site down below. Some of them are free, and some of them you have to pay, but they're only like 99 cents per Wellmer. So, it's worth it. And once you have it, then it's yours to keep forever. So you build up a supply of a certain number of them that you're using in your class, and then you can just hold on to those, and you don't have to invest any more money in it after that. I like to teach my students through the discovery method, and then come back afterwards and direct teach the content that I want to make sure that they know for their grade level. So I'll give students something to do, and they're not sure what's going to happen when I give them that experiment. An example of this is my ocean currents activity that I recently did with my 8th graders. I wanted them to learn what happens in the ocean with different currents, what happens with warm currents, what happens with cold water, what happens with saltier water. And so to develop these concepts, the first thing that I did was I gave my groups tubs, the clear plastic tubs that you use for storage, and filled them halfway full with water. And then that was just room temperature water. And then they had 2 plastic cups. One was cold, salty water, and one was warm, fresher water. And we poked a hole in the sides of those with a pin. Of course, depending on the age level, you might want to do this as a demo, or you might want to just make sure that you are the person that does the more difficult parts or more dangerous parts. If you're involving pins, then you would do that part. So I used a push pin, poked holes in the sides of those, and then set them down inside the water, and we just watched how the streams of water behaved. Students learned automatically how currents occur in the ocean and why those happen. And then I was able to direct teach those concepts to give students some reading material surrounding those ideas. Once you get students to see something or to hold something and observe it hands-on, then you can often get them to look online and research and find information on the topic because they're engaged. You have them. Once you have them, then everything else that you're asking them to do, it's not going to be a difficult task for them because they want to know why that happened. Why did that work? How does that work? Like, where can I find that information? One of the things that we have trouble with in the upper grades and middle school, high school, but even down into 4th and 5th grade at this time of year, you can have some of this trouble, is motivating the students to read for the information they need. But if you give them something hands-on and they're engaged in it and they're interested in why did that happen, then they're going to automatically want to read, and they're going to forget that this is something they don't really normally want to do for you. So it makes your job as a teacher that much easier when the students are personally motivated and invested in finding out the new information. Idea number 5 for ways to inject fun in your daily lessons. Do projects and try to come up with ways that they can be open-ended. Give students as much choice as you can in the projects. Obviously, when you do projects, you have to decide how long can I afford to spend on this project and how can I make sure that my projects are not taking up so much of my time that I'm not getting to all my content. You want the project to be valuable time. You want it to be a controlled environment. You want your materials and supplies to be available in a way that students can get to them and put them away on their own. You want to hold students accountable for certain standards, so you want to set expectations for what the project is going to look like in the end. But there are so many ways to give students choice in projects. Some students might want to work digitally on something. Other students might want to do a hands-on poster or some other type of artwork to show what they're learning. The more choices you can give students and the more open-ended you can make a project, as long as you specify what specific things they have to show that they've learned and how you want that given back to you, you're going to get so much more participation in your projects, and you're going to get more quality projects from the students because they want to do them. A great place to look for ideas for technology-based projects is Tech Like a Pirate by Matt Miller. He's put out a couple of really good books in how to engage students. So I will link those below for you, but there are so many really cool projects that are available online. Just start with your curriculum, start with what you need students to know. Every week when I'm doing my planning, I spend time thinking, what are some of the things that I need students to be able to do, to be able to know, to be able to show me, and how do they need to show me those things? And then I'll do some searching and just find different projects that would go with that. And then sometimes I'll actually start with a project and have students use the project as a springboard for the unit. Other times I'll use a project as a way for students to show what they've learned as an alternative assessment, where I might give a quiz or a test, but I'll also give them some sort of a project learning experience where, students that don't always do well on tests can also show what they know in a different way. So if you do your research and you set yourself up well, your projects can be very well run. They can take the amount of time that you need them to, and they can really help students solidify the things that they're learning. And the last way that you can make sure that you're infusing fun into your daily lessons is come up with your own weird things that you do in your classroom. You probably already have some of these. I know a lot of teachers have fun call-in responses they do. There's so many ways to do this. I'm going to put a couple of books that are great resources for encouraging a playful environment in your classroom, but I'll just tell you a few things that I do in my own classroom. The first thing is, see my minions up there? If you've been watching me, you know that I have minions in my classroom, and this started out as something that I just really love minions. I think they're hilarious. And when I came into the science classroom, because I used to teach elementary school and I've also taught English, I've taught some different subject areas. When I came into the science classroom, I wanted some sort of like mascot or something that I could use in my classroom that would just make students have like a feeling of being safe and a feeling of having fun when they walked in the door. And I thought minions would be perfect. And I found this minion at a garage sale, It was not very much, just a few dollars, and I brought it into my classroom, and then that just became the focus of my classroom. I've had students just love the Minions so much that I've decided that I'm just going to keep changing my decor, but leaving the Minions as a permanent part of my classroom. I now have Minion stickers up along the side of my boards. I have Minions in my windows. So, it's a thing for me. All the kids know that this is the Minion classroom. And some of my students that they come from the elementary school, they've heard about my Minions before they even get here. So think of some way that you can make your classroom unique, something that fits your style, your personality. I like to also do like weird things, like when I say to students, do you want to do me a favor? I say, do you want to do me a flavor? And all the students always say a flavor. Even the ones that have had me for 3 years, they still say it. Like, you guys know that I say flavor instead of favor. Like, it's just more fun that way. I say, what a coinky dink, because my dad used to say that for coincidence. Are you cereal instead of are you serious? Just be weird. Have fun with your kids, whatever way that works for you. Find your style, find your thing that makes you unique, and play around with your kids and have fun. There are days when you have to get serious and you have to buckle down, but having an opportunity to just kind of let loose with your students, be silly, do something fun, play a game, sing a weird song, let them see who you really are beyond just being a teacher. It's going to pay off. So now I'm just going to walk you through my lesson plans for this week and how I actually incorporated these things into my own lessons. I'm not going to do all of the ideas every day or every week even, but if you have a bag of tricks that you can pull from for infusing fun into your lessons, then you can do different things each week, and it will keep things mixed up for your students so they never get too tired of any one strategy that you're using. The same goes for any types of online games that you're using. I wouldn't use the same one all of the time unless there's one that your students just really, really love that at that point. And then of course you can do it until it gets old, but have something ready in your back pocket for when that gets boring so that you can switch it up. So on Monday, my sixth graders, I only have 3 preps. I just wanted to let you know. I kind of have 4 preps because I have 2 classes that are like in very different places, but I have 3 grade levels. So I have 3 curriculums I'm working with, and I start off with the same lessons, but I might differentiate, in a different way for different classes depending on how they need to learn the material. So for my morning classes, I have 2 groups of 6th graders. So that's a split class. In a 45-minute class, I start off with a tropism online game on Monday, which reviews what we learned the week before about plants and how they respond to different stimuluses in their environment. And then I have students work together with partners to do a sort activity so that whatever it is that they reminded themselves of during the game, they can practice it with a partner in the sort activity. So that gives them collaboration time. It gives them a fun game to begin with. And then after we got finished with that, the students finished up any missing work from the week before, since I knew that some of them were not done with what we did on Friday. On Tuesday in that 6th grade class, we did a notebook organization and a pop quiz, just 4-question quiz. I allowed students to trade the quizzes with each other and grade them. And then I collected them just so that I would be able to use that as a formative assessment. Then for the vocabulary activity that the students did, I allowed them to draw illustrations of their own, or they could find illustrations online that would help them remember the vocabulary words. So in that way, I was allowing students to have some choice, and I was allowing them to incorporate artistic elements, which some of them are going to like, and that's the thing. not every student's going to find everything that you try to do fun, but if you mix it up enough, then you're going to reach all your students throughout the week at different times. So my goal is not to make every kid happy every single day. My goal is by the end of the week, there's something that every student remembers that they enjoyed doing in my class that week. On Wednesday, I actually am allowing students to do some fill-in notes, and I'm allowing them to work with partners so that they can talk about it. So I'm giving the students the materials that they need, and then I'm making sure that they have the types of notes that I want them to have by creating a guided note template so that they're looking for the words that I want them to look for to do their notes. And that way they aren't missing anything. Another thing that you can do is you can have students take notes that are open-ended, but then you can have them comment on each other's notes, and you give them like a guideline for what they should be looking for so that they can improve their notes afterwards if they haven't included everything. Then on Thursday, the students are going to be doing a project this week, a project that they have to use their imagination. If they were going to another planet, and they get to pick which planet, so there's choice involved, what would they need to take with them to make sure they survived? And I'm going to give them some parameters like what type of clothing would they need? What type of tools would they need to bring with them? How long would it take them to get there? What would they need to do to make sure that they, enough oxygen to survive? How would they keep their bodies safe from any harmful aspects of the atmosphere? So basically what they're doing is they're examining the atmosphere of other planets so that they can eventually come to understand that Earth is really the best place for us right now if we don't make any modifications to how we're living, because Earth has the most hospitable environment for us. That's the standard that I'm having them get to. So their discovery lesson is leading them to that standard, and then I can make a special point of pointing out the specifics of how Earth is a more hospitable planet than other planets that we might choose to live on, and make reference of current technology that's developing to send us to Mars, so I can link current events in there, which also makes it more interesting for students if you're connecting to something that's going on in their everyday lives. They're going to present these, which is not their favorite thing to do, but it's good for them. And the students, even though they don't like presenting, they do like to hear each other's presentations, especially on something fun like this, where they really get to use their creativity in designing a plan for going to another planet. They're going to create Google Slides for this. So there's going to be a certain amount of design, technology design involved. And usually this is a project that they really get into when I've done it in years past. For 7th grade, they're working with single-celled organisms, and then we're leading into parts of the cell, which I'm using Josie Bensko's cell unit because it's just awesome and it works every time for engaging the students. I will link that below. It's found on Teacher Pay Teacher, and it's a resource that is worth your time, and it's rigorous enough, and my students really learn the material when I use it every year. So, like I said before, not everything on Teacher Pay Teacher is a bad resource. You just have to know how to evaluate your resources. But I thought it would be really interesting for the students to get to see some single-celled organisms on slides. So I'm going to be showing them some slides that I have that are preset on the microscope because they love the microscopes. And then also having them look at some slides of lake water, of our local lake, so they can see what types of organisms are found in the lake water. Okay, that was a quick break, but I had to go because my students were coming to the door for our remediation time, and I had to teach my end of the day class. So my end of the day class is my 8th grade class, and I have 2 classes that I work with, but I see one group of them Monday and Tuesday for 90 minutes, and then the other group Wednesday, Thursday for 90 minutes, and then on Friday we split the time, 45 and 45. So I do a lot of review games on Fridays. This week I'm planning on just finishing up a poster project that we're working on, but I wanted to show you we did stations leading up to this week, and we actually had to finish some of those on Monday, but this is from one of the stations that we did. And the top, it's just like soap bubbles right now because this is an Ocean Zones bottle. And the top layer is actually oil, but you can't really see it right now. But this is, the bottom layer is normally, you make it with corn syrup and you dye the corn syrup. But I already had some dish detergent that was like a bluish green. And so the students just used that at the bottom, but then some of them stirred a little bit too much, and that's why there's bubbles on the top. Because this is just from today. They were messing around with the bottles and swishing them around to see the different layers because they will stay. See, that's really cool. So you can see how the densities, as you turn the bottle, everything stays in the same spot. And it doesn't matter which direction you turn it. So it really helps them understand ocean zones. So I did that with them, leading up to teaching them about the circulation of ocean currents and global conveyor belt and all of that. So now they're doing an ocean zones project where they're learning what lives in different parts of the ocean. So there's actually oil up here on top. There's water in the middle that's just colored. So yeah, so that was a fun little hands-on station that they could do. And then they had a reading station, which they're used to. And I always make it a current event. So I use Newzela a lot, or some people call it Newzela. I'll link my article below that I used for that. But it's nice because, as you know, you can change the level. So no matter what reading level the student's reading at, they can find something that's accessible to them. And if your student is even lower than that, there are some other options that you can use, and I'll link some suggestions below for students that are really way below grade level if you have that going on in one of your upper elementary or middle grades classrooms. So my students for the 8th grade are working on a partner choice project. So they got to choose their partners this time. I don't always let them choose their partners, but this particular project I allowed them to, because the Ocean Zones project is usually one that the students are interested enough in that the topic itself lends itself to motivation. So I don't have to work so hard to get the behavior to be good because the kids actually want to find out about what lives in different parts of the ocean. So that's why I allowed them this time to choose their partners. And then I had them kind of say what was their first and second choice for the ocean zones, and we assigned out all of the zones in the ocean to a different group. So each group is making their own poster. Today they were finishing up their drafts. I make them do a draft on plain paper first, so they get all their facts down and they decide what they're going to draw and how they're going to draw it before they actually start on their one piece of poster board that I allow them to have. Because I don't want them to be, number one, fighting about what they're going to put on their poster, how they're going to put it on there. And it seems like they just have less arguments and they make less major mistakes when I make them do a draft first. So the draft gets okayed by me, and then they go ahead into the artistic part of designing their poster, and it's rubric scored. So they all know what the rubric is in advance, and that's how we're doing that. So today I thought they might get done and get started, like get done with their drafts and get started on the actual posters, but they didn't today. So, and I felt like they were working pretty well. So I'm going to give them one more class to really work hard on their posters now, because I think most of them are ready to do that. And then Friday we'll finish those up, and then we'll present those next week. So that's kind of what I have done in my class this week to have fun. There's one more thing I'm going to show you before I let you go. The 6th grade, I told you, was learning about responses to environmental stimuli, which is called a tropism. And one of the tropisms they were learning about is how plants can turn to the light. So I actually had a teachable moment here. This is an amaryllis bulb that I bought at Christmas time. I found it at Lowe's when we were purchasing our Christmas tree and some of our decorations. And I thought, hey, it would be great to have one for each class. And the 2 classes could have like a little competition to see which one would get tallest fastest and which one would bloom fastest, that kind of thing. So it's a good opportunity for them to do some observation since we were doing plants before Christmas. But now that we're doing tropisms, this plant right now actually looks really good. But what happened was it got stuck in the back of my trunk behind some Christmas gifts that I was hiding in my trunk, and I forgot all about it. I didn't bring it inside. So then when I took the Christmas gifts out over break, I realized that they were back there. And this particular one right here where that's bent over, there was a whole nother bud that was sticking off of that was hanging down, and it was all yellow. The entire thing was like yellowish white looking because it had been in the trunk without enough light. So this is like a perfect opportunity for me to show students how plants change in response to their environment. So they didn't really believe me that this thing would be healthy after I had left it in my trunk all that time. It hadn't been watered. It didn't have any soil, nothing. So I took it out. I potted it. And this is the container that it came in, but I just put some dirt down in there, gave it a little water. You don't really have to water these, but I just wanted to water it to get it started since it had been all by its, lonesome in the trunk like that. And as soon as I stuck it up here, it started to get green within like a couple of hours. And then the next day it looked, really green like this. And then this part right here wasn't doing so well, so I just cut off that extra bud. And as soon as I did that, this one stood straight up and has been doing really well. So I'm pretty sure that it will open in a week or two, and that's going to be a lot of fun for the kids. So just finding ways to make things relevant and interesting for your students brings a sense of fun and wonder into the classroom, and you don't even have to be a science teacher. This could have been done in a math classroom. You could have recorded data and, put it into some sort of graph about how much it's growing every day, over time. And then you could take it out of the sun and see how much it grows. And then you could record that data on the same graph and see the difference. There are lots of different ways that you can integrate the subjects. Students could write about this in a journal. So that would be like your reading and writing. They could read about, ways to take care of this type of plant or what this particular type of plant needs. There's so many different options that you don't have to limit yourself to only using these approaches if you're a science teacher. So I hope that you enjoyed this video today. It's just so nice when you have something that you're doing that's fun in your classroom, because it's not just the students who look forward to being in here, it's you. So any way that you can make your winter, or any time of the year for that matter, more interesting, and that you can look forward to each day that you come in to do your lesson plans, it's just, it's like a little refresh for you that just keeps you motivated. So if you have any questions, or if you have other suggestions for how to infuse fun in the classroom that you've tried, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you about your own ideas. And other than that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to work hard, be kind, and amazing things will happen. Bye-bye.